These are 5 players that I dislike for this upcoming 2025 MLB season, starting off with Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros, who currently has a fantasy ADP of 45th overall. Altuve has long been known as a model of consistency, especially at a position that has been considered as shallow for years. He typically hits for a strong average with power and speed numbers in the double digits each year. However, Altuve makes this list for more than one reason, one of which is the fact that he's entering his age 35 season and has already begun to see some of his underlying metrics fall, despite the on-the-surface stats painting a rosy picture. His chase rate was the worst of his career in 2024, his average exit velocity sat at just the 11th percentile, and he even saw his bat speed decrease by a full tick. The most worrisome stat of them all may be that Altuve took walks at a lower rate than ever before last year, with that number falling to below 7%. These metrics clearly show an age-related skills decline, and with Altuve only becoming another year older, I'm afraid that the bottom could completely fall out for him in 2025. If his plate discipline numbers continue to decline, that once reliable average may be no longer. The next player on my list is the boldest of them all, and that's Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who owns an ADP of 22nd. It absolutely pains me to put Freddie on the dislike list, as he's long been a favorite of mine and a player I often targeted in drafts. The reality, though, is that he's another player who is 35 years of age and has also seen an age-related skills decline over the past year. Freeman saw his average exit velocity and barrel percentage drop some in 2024, while his bat speed was also decreased relative to 2023. He still maintained an elite walk rate and strikeout rate, so while I am expecting some decreased production this year, I don't quite feel as harshly towards him as I do towards Altuve. One more key detail on Freeman is that he underwent ankle surgery in the offseason, which poses the question of how he will bounce back from that at his age. Everyone's time eventually comes to an end, and while Freeman has been able to prolong his production, I just feel that 2025 will be the year he truly begins to drop off. He will still be solid in a loaded lineup, but to me he isn't worth the price that he carries at the moment. Moving on to the first pitcher on this list, I have Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins, sporting an ADP of 62 overall. Lopez is a name that has many varying opinions in the baseball world, but I'm personally on the pessimistic side for 2025. From a pure stuff standpoint, he's among the game's best and most talented, however, he allows far too many homers without an elite ground ball rate to balance things out. He does boast an above average strikeout rate, but by allowing the amount of homers that he does, his ERA will continue to remain inflated. All of the ERA indicators for Lopez are fine, but they don't reflect a guy currently going as the SP15 off the board. Another reason why I dislike Lopez is due to his major inconsistencies from a per-start basis. In 2024, he was often prone to major blowups. He's simply a guy that is completely on his game or completely off his game. As early as he goes in drafts, I'm looking for a pitcher that I can rely on from start to start as my SP1 or SP2, and not a guy that's a toss-up every time he's on the mound. Next up on the dislike list is Oneil Cruz from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who has an ADP of 43 in drafts right now. There's absolutely no denying that Cruz is a polarizing talent with raw skills that are arguably among the best in the entire league, but that also comes with many glaring holes. Let's start with his largest weakness, which is his plate discipline. It's really simple. Cruz swings at pitches out of the zone way too often, and even when they are in the zone, his whiff rate shows that he often misses those too. And sure, when he does connect with the ball, it's some of the highest quality contact in the league, but those are far and few in between. I personally don't think that Cruz will ever maintain an average above 260 in his career, while his power is also overrated due to launch angle concerns. I see it as a consensus continuously chasing the potential rather than recognizing that the floor is lower than what's being assumed. He may put up a 2020 season in 2025, but with subpar counting stats and an average that certainly won't help you, he's nowhere near worth his price tag. And finally, the last player that I dislike heading into the 2025 season is Carlos Rodon of the New York Yankees, who owns an ADP of 136. Rodon has honestly had just an interesting career up till this point, with many dominant and disastrous years. 2024 looked fine for him on the surface, but I'm betting that he further declines again this upcoming season. When Rodon was at his most dominant phase, he was throwing an electric fastball paired with a devastating slider. The problem, though, is that it's no longer the case anymore. Rodon's fastball got absolutely crushed last season with an expected WOBA of almost 400. He allows some of the hardest contact in the entire league, and he rarely induces ground balls. His walk rate is below average, and his strikeout rate has taken a step back from his prime years. You put this all together, and it's easy to see how Rodon becomes a disaster in 2025. He's essentially a one-pitch pitcher at this point in his career, and if his famous slider happens to abandon him on any given start, then he's obviously prone to major blowups. I'm completely avoiding Rodon this year for these reasons. And with that being said, that concludes the 5 players that I dislike for this upcoming 2025 MLB season. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.